obesity, diabetes, 50, 60, 70 pounds overweight, weight loss struggles is something.
Hello, everybody. It's a little bit darker. Let's see. That's a little bit better. Let me see if I get some natural lighting in here. Might be a little better. Hello, everybody. Man, I haven't been live in like a really long time. I'm trying to think the last time I was live. It has been a long time. Happy New Year's, everybody. Welcome. This is your first time here in the channel. Either one, YouTube or TikTok. My name is Dr. Jones. And you know, I think it's pretty cool, the things that we get to do, the stuff that I see every single day. So basically, I have clinics that service across the nation, all 50 states, and we help people with all sorts of different GLP1 and peptide related struggles. So for me, I'm very passionate about helping people achieve lasting weight loss on their medications and peptides. I think the dosing strategies that are prescribed to people are basically not done correctly. People are not being dosed correctly. People aren't really given much strategy at all. See, that's the problem. And I think a lot of this has to do not even so much primarily with doctors as much as it's been issues with doctors. I think it's more behind the widespread telehealth companies that don't give any guidance, coaching, or structure. And so there's this inevitable default for people to just increase their dose every 4 weeks. You increase your dose because you're a little bit excited, but you're not getting guidance on like, when should you stay? Because guess what, everybody? This is a question that you need to ask yourself. When do I need to increase my dose? When do I not need to increase my dose? When should I stay at the same dose? If you're not asking yourself this question, that is a massive problem. And unfortunately, I think a lot of people are not given this opportunity. No one's having this discussion with them. And so because of that, there is a default to just, increase every 4 weeks. And then you know what comes along with it. Hello, divine woman. You know what comes along with it is you end up under eating. And this is probably the number one problem that I see with patients. Number one problem is under eating. Not just protein, but under eating calories. Just under eating, period. Not enough protein, not enough calories, not enough micronutrients. And so when you don't get enough calories or micronutrients, and calories would be macronutrients, and micronutrients would be your vitamins, your minerals, your essential phytonutrients, other things that the body needs for survival that provide other things besides calories, right? It's a different form of essential nutrients. And so this is widespread, most common cause of plateaus, slow results, hair loss, brain fog, constipation, people feeling really cold. Are you guys feeling really cold on your medications? Let me know in the comments. And real quick, guys, I'm going to answer as many questions as you guys have. I'm going to answer as many questions as we possibly can. How does a gastric bypass affect a GLP-1? That's a great question. I'm going to get to that and answer all your questions. If you guys are curious about what is the best way to reach us, there is a link in the bio. If you guys are watching me on TikTok or YouTube, just go to the main page. If you're watching me on TikTok, you can actually shoot us a direct message and we will respond to you right away. But there's a link in our bio on the main page, or you can just shoot us a message and we got you guys covered. Okay, so let's see. Thanks for everything. Just started 1 milligram of Retta after being on 1.25 of Monjaro. Hope everything is similar between the two. Yeah, let me know. You know, Retatrutide is definitely the trending topic. Everybody wants to get on Retatrutide. Everybody wants to talk about Retatrutide. And I think it's understandable because the additional receptor, the glucagon receptor, is very powerful. It's a very powerful receptor. But some patients, and I noticed this a good amount of patients that I've coached, when they switch from tirzepatide to retatrutide, they're not getting the kind of appetite suppression that they need to get. They're not getting the kind of appetite suppression that they need to get, and so they're struggling. So yes, retatrutide gives you a better, hey Lack, welcome, Francisco, hello. I know it's been a long time since I've been live. If you need good, strong appetite suppression and retatrutide doesn't give it to you, and you're struggling with food chatter, then you're gonna struggle to get results. That's just the way it works. There's no way you can circumvent that. That metabolic benefit does not override eating crappy food, being in a caloric surplus. It's not gonna override that. But if you are dialed in with your nutrition, then that metabolic benefit of retatrutide, that's where it can certainly be of assistance to you. So you really have to just ask yourself, what is your biggest struggle? Let's see. Getting cold on the day of your injections. So let me know in the comments, is it tiredness, brain fog? Is it constipation? Is it feeling cold? Or is it just a weight loss stall? What is your biggest complaint right now? Your biggest problem? And what sort of solution do you have? Are they giving you a solution? Or are you kind of on your own trying to figure it out? What is your opinion on having MS and being on Zepbound? I think multiple autoimmune cases can be helped with GLP-1 medications. We see patients all the time when they're on GLP-1 meds and they have an autoimmune disease that they respond and their autoimmune disease gets better. It's a very interesting observation. And just so you guys know, GLP-1 meds are being studied for help in various autoimmune conditions. My primary care wants me to start phentermine first. Lois, I would find a different primary care. I think phentermine is awful. And there's just no point of making somebody do phentermine first. That doesn't even make sense to me. There's so much better metabolic benefit and way less downside and concern comparing tirzepatide, for example, to phentermine. Do you recommend keto with GLP-1? Aaron, I recommend a low-carb approach for anybody struggling with metabolic health issues. So here's my caveat, because it doesn't really matter whether we're talking about GLP-1 meds or not. The whole conversation about keto. If you can lose weight, and if you can lose the right kind of weight, right? What do I mean by the right kind of weight? If you can lose fat while protecting the muscle mass on your body, actually dropping visceral fat, if you can do that while eating carbohydrates, then eat your carbohydrates. But the reality is, after coaching thousands of patients, when we cut the carbohydrates and we replace them with healthy fats, and again, this is irrelevant whether you're on a GLP-1 medication or not, but when we make that transition, I have found better results most of the time. So if we want to have a conversation and say, what's the best method, I think it's almost a moot point because it doesn't matter. I don't care what's the best method. I'm just going to tell you what I see work most often. But again, if you can have carbohydrates and get the proper type of weight, keep eating carbohydrates. You know what I mean? Who cares about the argument of what's better for the population? Let's find out what works best for you as an individual. I think that's the most important question. Letty, my sleep apnea doctor just told me I was denied Zepbound, only got 1 shot, and I have 3 left. Tell me more about what happened there, Letty. That's awful to hear that. If you're on appetite suppressants and you're barely eating anything, carbs are okay. I don't even think I understand the question. Is that a question or a statement? Or are you asking me? If you are suppressing your appetite and you're in a calorie deficit, even if you don't tolerate carbohydrates well, on the short term, you will lose weight. If you put yourself into a calorie deficit, almost everybody will start losing weight. But how much weight will you lose before your body responds? If you are insulin resistant and you go into a calorie deficit, your body is going to fight you tooth and nail. Your body is going to fight you as much as it possibly can. This is the counter signal of insulin. Chronically elevated insulin levels are what drives insulin resistance, and it leads to hyperinsulinemia, which is more elevated insulin levels. And so this is a suboptimal, non-optimal signal when you're trying to lose weight. So when you put your body into a calorie deficit, your body gets stressed out. It has to lean on stress hormones like cortisol, norepinephrine, all these different catecholamine stress hormones are now being pumped out by the body because you have the calorie deficit, which demands energy, and then you have insulin, which is saying store, store, store. It's putting a clamp and a block on your fat cells. So now cortisol has to get pumped out in the short term to override that signal and meet the short-term energy demands, which is why everybody will start losing weight when they introduce a calorie deficit, but you're stressing the body out. You see, you want to support the body. This is so important. So pay attention to this, guys. Yes, calorie deficit is super important, but if you want to make weight loss easier, at the same time, you lower your insulin levels. If you can lower your insulin levels, you're going to support your body and you're going to facilitate better fat loss. And this is something that I see around, like after coaching thousands of patients, this is what I see consistently. It's consistent, it's predictable, and I'll just leave it at that. I kind of went off on a big tangent there, but it's a really important question. Let's see. What I didn't talk about anemia yet. If you have anemia, this is like a primary health concern that you should get addressed before anything else. If you have true anemia, a deficiency in your body of oxygen, you don't have proper iron. There's many different forms of anemia. It can be impacting your red blood cell production. It could be driven by inflammation. It could be a genetic anemia. There are many forms of anemia, but if you have anemia, you should be working with your primary care. You should be investigating what is the source of that and get that addressed right away, because weight loss is very challenging if you're anemic. Now, if you're iron deficient, this is still a similar issue that you need to figure out why are you iron deficient. So definitely work with your primary care and talk about that and figure out what the issue is. Add fat to everything you're already eating. That's how you can bump calories without adding carbohydrates. Exactly. I'm a big fan of going protein heavy and fat heavy and fiber heavy. Protein, fat, and fiber. So I'm okay with some fruits and vegetables, unless you guys want to talk about the carnivore diet. Of course, if we if we talk about the carnivore diet, that's a whole separate conversation. Carnivore diet can make things rather confusing, but depending on what you guys want to talk about. Okay, so what is the difference between ferritin and iron? So ferritin is not checked as often. Serum iron in your blood, makes up about 1 to 2% of your total body iron, and ferritin is actually the form of stored iron. So when ferritin is low, it means total body iron levels are actually low, as opposed to having normal ferritin and having serum iron actually be low. That doesn't mean you have low iron overall. But when you have low ferritin and low iron, that's a problem. Now, ferritin is also something that's referred to as an acute phase reactant. If ferritin's really high, it doesn't necessarily always mean high iron. It could mean high inflammation too as well. So yes, ferritin being low and iron being okay, on the short term, you shouldn't have a roadblock to your weight loss, but the fact that you have low ferritin is a concern, and it could progress into a problem. Big Papa, I like that. I like the kind of foods that you're talking about. I think that's great. I think those are good foods that you're doing. Haley, I've changed my diet and I started working out 3 to 4 days a week. I've gained 8 pounds in the past 2 weeks. So I wouldn't freak out about that. Oh yeah, Cliff remembers that I'm a Niners fan. My boy Cliff, what a game yesterday. Don't get me started about that game. That was quite the victory. And now we got to go beat some more birds next weekend. But anyways, I don't want to get too digressed here. So if you start lifting weights and you change up your diet and your calories are a little bit in a surplus, and you start resistance training and you haven't trained like that, you haven't trained your muscles like that, you're going to get a glycogenic reaction. You're going to put on some water weight. You're going to start laying down the foundation for muscle building. But when you see a fluctuation in a weight like that so fast, it's likely water weight, which your water weight is going to fluctuate several pounds relative to your carbohydrate intake. If you cut your carbs out, your weight drops. When you add carbohydrates back in, you gain a few pounds of instant water weight overnight. How much GHK copper? I do about 2 grams a day. 2 grams a day of GHK copper. Hey, Anthony, my friend, I know I've been out of the live game for a while. I hope you had a great Christmas and a good New Year's, my friend. Peptide Princess, yes, I do my best to have a really good, let's see, is that better? I think that lighting's better actually. I do my best to have like a good skincare routine that I stick to. We cover the basics. I think I have some weird filter on right now on the TikTok side of things. I don't like that filter actually, but what's up, John? How we doing? How many of you guys are struggling since Christmas? How many of you guys kind of fell off the bandwagon with Christmas and New Year's and you're struggling to get started? How many of you guys said this was going to be your year, but now you're struggling? It's okay. Don't be embarrassed. Call yourself out. This is a community here. We are here to support each other. We are here to help each other out. Sometimes you just need a swift kick in the ass, you know what I mean? So just imagine you're getting a nice swift kick in the butt from Dr. Jones, and we're here to put it back into gear. Who cares that it's January 12th? You're 2 weeks behind your goal. Who gives an F? Because today is the day that you're going to get back to it. Today's the day that you're going to get back to it. You're going to finally start what you said you needed to start. And that's okay. Life is stressful, your job, your kids, your responsibility, but this is your health. This is your health. This is your life. And you only need to be successful once. You can fail over and over and over and over, but you only need to be successful once. Hey, One and Precious, I am great. How about you? Divine Woman liked the idea of getting a swift kick in the butt. More mad about weight going up, but still sticking to my plan. It's okay, you know, it's good. It's going to happen. But, and I always, as a reminder, I'm a big proponent of fasting, intermittent fasting protocols. So intermittent fasting is a great way to kind of quickly undo some damage, undo some splurging with some fasting protocols. It's honestly, in my opinion, fasting is the fastest way to fix your insulin resistance, and drop the inflammation and create that calorie deficit that we need to create. I promised to go to the gym to weight train, but I don't like the cold. Well, the good news is it's not cold in the gym. So wrap up, put some layers on, get your ass to the gym, and let's go. Let's do it. It's not cold in the gym. Unless you're going to some crazy outdoor gym. It's easier to stay thin than to get thin. I would agree with that, actually. That's a true statement. It is much harder to maintain your weight loss than it is to actually lose the weight. It's a crazy phenomena, but this is why I'm always telling people to focus on the future, to focus on what it looks like, because that's going to be the ease of which you can maintain your weight loss depends on what you do now, though. So we have step number 1, lose the weight, and then we have step number 2, maintain the weight loss. Hey, Jeff O'Hara, Happy New Year's to you. Happy New Year's to you too, my friend. I am a doctor of chiropractic, says DC right here. Thank you for sharing that. Get the blood flowing and you won't be cold. Well, I'll tell you what, we talked about that. One of the main reasons why people get so cold on GLP1 medications is because the metabolism actually slows down from excessively undereating. There is an actual internal reaction. Your metabolism slows down, you get cold, brain foggy, tired, constipated when you're not eating enough calories. And this is the number one cause of why your weight loss stalls. How long does Retta take so you can notice results? Whether it's retatrutide, tirzepatide, semaglutide, these are various GLP-1 medications with different levels of metabolic profile with metabolic effect. I can tell you there is no expected timeline. Some people feel the medications immediately, and some people it might take 2 months before you feel the medication. If you want to feel the effects of your medication sooner, in my opinion, from what I've seen, you start cleaning up your diet. You start dropping insulin levels through other methods like intermittent fasting, low carb eating, and then you get your butt to the gym and you start lifting weights. And the type of workouts that you want to do, this is the best type of workout, is called hypertrophy, or hypertrophy if you like to call it that. I call it hypertrophy, but hypertrophy style training, which is an emphasis on building muscle. That is correct, ladies. You need to lift weights like your mission is to build muscle. I promise you, you're not going to get big. You're not going to get bulky from lifting weights. Happy New Year's, everybody. Welcome, guys. If this is your first time in the channel, my name is Dr. Jones. I have clinics that service across the nation, all 50 states. And I work with a medical team We service all 50 states, just so you guys know. We focus on strategies where we implement lifestyle changes, peptides, and microdosing protocols to help you guys be successful in the future. I care less about your weight loss right now, and I care more about your long-term success. That's our biggest focus. And so if you guys are curious, if you want to learn more, shoot us a message. You can either DM us on the page for TikTok, or you can go to the main page and click the bio link. I think there should be a couple ways that you guys can DM us right now, actually. Let's see, I'm gonna pin a notice. There you go. If you guys wanna access some of the specials that we're running, you guys see that little message right there? Click that box that just showed up, shoot us a DM. And if you guys aren't already following me on YouTube, go to YouTube right now and type in Dr. Jones DC. And then you'll find my page. We put out multiple videos every single week. Help keeping you guys informed. When you have clients on carnivore and GLP-1, do you still have them? That's a great question. Okay, here's the question. Let me turn off the light real quick. Yeah, I think that's better. When you are on a GLP-1 medication and when you're doing the carnivore diet, do you need to do long, extended fasting? Intermittent fasting protocols? And the answer is it depends. It depends on the individual case that we're working with. Carnivore diet is such a powerful metabolic health intervention that I've seen people have great success without any fasting at all, just eating, periodically sources of fatty red meat. But then in some extreme cases, we like to double up carnivore and fasting protocols. So, the answer is it just depends. And this is why coaching is so important, working with doctors, working with coaches, because then there's also the preference, for your preference, what do you desire, what are you comfortable with, Divine Woman. I want to visit Argentina, by the way. I would love to go visit Argentina. Me and my fiance would love to go visit. Retta, for an 18-year-old, is that okay? I would prefer tirzepatide if you were that young, and only if you needed it. Does Zepbound affect your orgasms? I haven't heard that. The GLP-1 medications can cause downstream improvements in sex hormone production. So sex drive, sexual desire could absolutely increase, and I see that all the time. Experience of your orgasm, I haven't heard anybody report that. So that's an interesting question. I don't have an answer for you. I've lost 116 pounds on testosterone. I gave up carbs and sugar for a year. I'm moving on to maintenance, but my food cravings are coming back. It kind of scares me. Did you use any GLP-1s, or did you lose all the weight? 116 pounds, congratulations to you. That's an amazing win. Kudos to you for the hard work. Did you use any GLP-1s? And if you aren't, why not? You can microdose your GLP-1 medications. Using the lowest effective dose, to me, is the best way to go about this. Can you take GHK copper and Zepbound at the same time? Yes, you can. I have a video where I talk about GHK copper for GLP-1 patients, and also I talk about GHK copper generally. I think it's one of the most underrated peptides, period. What is the best way to wean off of a GLP-1 after hitting goal? Same dose in 14 days or drop dose? So, Christy, this is probably one of the biggest areas that we as a clinic help people do, is like the after part. So I think the two options are, you hit your weight loss goal. Do you want to wean off the medication entirely, or do you want to transition into a microdose? I think most people are going to need to microdose the GLP-1 medications to maintain weight loss, to maintain optimal health. You see, obesity is a chronic disease. It is, no doubt. What that actually means, nobody really knows yet. There are educated guesses on what the disease of obesity actually is. I think most people agree that there's a component of dysregulated hunger. I also think there's a component of susceptibility to becoming insulin resistant and inflamed. Probably a susceptibility to putting on visceral fat. A susceptibility to all the things that you wouldn't want is what obesity really is. So essentially, if you want to make it really simple to understand, when you have obesity, you have to try significantly harder than your average person. And do I think you're going to be able to maintain weight loss without a GLP-1? I think it's going to be really, really hard if you have obesity. But this is why I think working towards some sort of microdose in the future, and I have a ton of videos on both TikTok and YouTube where I talk about what that looks like. You guys should go check that out. Can people with gastritis take GLP-1 medications? Absolutely, and it probably will help, Brenda. Make sure you talk to your physicians, of course. Ellie, on 5 milligrams of TERS, can I switch to Retta next week? What dose? Let me ask you a question. Why would you want to switch to Retta? Is there a problem that you're trying to solve? And of course, I can't give you specific medical advice. There are two schools of thought. Some providers would switch you over to like an equivalent dose, but retatrutide has that additional receptor. So the safer play is to start back at a starter dose of Retta and work your way back up. After 7 months, let's see. After 7 months and moving to the highest dose of tirzepatide, this weekend I finally felt like it was a struggle to eat. After 7 months and moving to the highest dose, what you're saying. So you had to continue to increase your dose over time and you're finally feeling the appetite suppression. But why are you chasing struggle to eat? This is such an important topic. I want everybody to hear what I'm talking about right now. If you're taking GLP-1 medications, pay attention to what I'm about to share with you right now, because this particular person's question said, after 7 months, I finally feel, I'm going to read her exact statement because this is big. I finally feel the struggle to eat. You never want to feel a struggle to eat. You never want to dose yourself to the point where it is a struggle to eat. That is not ideal. That is non-optimal. And that's going to bite you in the ass later on. There are 3 zones of hunger, okay? There is the zone where you are in when you start this journey, where you have food chatter. That's zone number 1. Zone number 1 is the presence of food chatter. You are hungry too often. You don't get full fast enough. You are constantly craving and thinking about food. You crave junk food. Your thought is, you guys know that. You guys know zone 1. Zone number 3, you do not want to increase your dose to the point where you feel zone number 3. Zone number 3 is, I never think about food. Like, food's never on my mind. I rarely get hungry. I take a couple bites and I can't eat anymore because I'm stuffed. That's not a good place to be, and I'll tell you why. Number 1, you're going to undereat. You're not going to get enough calories in. You're not going to get enough protein. You start plateauing very quickly. That's the obvious problem. But let me tell you guys about a more important problem that happens when you're in zone 3 of medication dosing and appetite suppression. The bigger problem is the fact that you never have to do the work on your own. See, this is the mental game. This is the mental piece that no one's talking about. No one's probably having this conversation with you right now, so pay attention. But the mental piece requires you to put in some effort. The mental toughness required to say no to junk food occasionally is a mental skill that requires effort and training. When you completely give in to the medication, and in other words, the medication does all the work because you're in zone 3, that mental strength weakens. And that's such a big problem because in the future, when you achieve your desired weight and your health, and you want to decrease the medication dose to a microdose, if you've lost your ability to handle food, cravings and all the random food that comes, around you, you go through your day to day and food's thrown at you left, right, and forward, work, treats and junk food and advertising and parties. And it's everywhere. You can't get away from addictive food. You have to develop some ability to have some self-control, some restraint. Obviously, when you're in zone 1, you need help. That's why you need the medication. It is so important in the beginning when you're in zone 1 and you're losing the battle. That's what obesity is. So give me the medication, baby. Give me the help. I'm ready. I'm busting my ass, but I need help. But if you increase your dose and you're in zone 3, well, now you guys understand something that you probably have never had explained to you before. There are dangers with being in zone 3, and the longer you're in zone 3, the weaker and weaker your own innate ability to regulate your appetite choice and control it decreases. And so let me talk about zone 2. Zone 2 is where you want to be. Zone 2 is the optimal dosing. Like you want to dose yourself as you increase till you get to zone 2, and you want to maintain zone 2. Here's what zone 2 looks like. You still get a little hungry. You still get some cravings. You think about food time to time. But you're in control. This is the key word. You are in control. You are not white knuckling it. You are not struggling. You are not putting all your mental effort towards being able to eat good most of the time, because that's a losing battle. That is not sustainable. And while I appreciate people that want to work that hard, that's very admirable, you don't need to work that hard because it's not sustainable. I want you to work moderately hard. I want you to work medium style, like a little hard, but not too hard. Because I know you all got jobs and you got wives and husbands and kids and responsibilities. You got all these things you got to do. So we can't be putting that much effort. It's not sustainable. But if you put just a moderate amount, guess what? That mental strength that we talked about earlier, it never weakens. If anything, that mental toughness continues to strengthen. So that when you hit your goal in the future and you begin to decrease the dose, you're like, cool, I got it. I can lean on myself because I've developed some mental toughness. I've developed some mental discipline. I'm in control, me, not the medication. And unfortunately, very few people have a framework and can approach their dosing strategies with a provider or a clinic who thinks like this. And that's obviously what we do. Yeah, low testosterone. I agree 100%. If you have low levels of testosterone, your motivation, your mental toughness, your mental prowess is going to be lower when you have low testosterone. This is why hormones play a huge role as well. Having harmony. As a man, testosterone is everything. Guess what, ladies? Testosterone is also massively important for you too as well. But as a woman, especially when you start approaching perimenopause and menopause, now we got to talk about estrogen and progesterone because the roles that estrogen plays are ginormous. Like when your levels of estrogen start to decrease, holy crap, you become massively insulin resistant and inflamed at a very rapid and accelerated rate. So I've noticed women who can get some bioidentical estrogen and progesterone into their bodies, the earlier the better, to support their weight loss and metabolic health journeys alongside the GLP1. Makes a big difference. if you are starting Retta, how long until you start seeing changes in your body? So it is different, Yolanda, for every single person. Some people notice changes within a couple weeks. Some people notice changes within a couple months. You can't let that deter you. You need to continue to implement the right strategies, like the intermittent fasting, the weight training, optimizing your stress and your sleep, getting some sunlight in the morning. Can I start MOT-C a day after I finish SS31? I can't give you medical advice, but many people can. Many people do switch from MOT-C over to SS31 or vice versa. Carrie, I just had my ovaries removed on Friday. I'm sorry to hear that. I would start I talk to your doctors about bioidentical hormone replacement therapy if they offer that. If they don't offer that, then like our clinic, we do bioidentical hormone replacement therapy for men and women. And we service all 50 states. So definitely, I would get your hormones balanced as quickly as possible. What is the ideal amount of calories? You know, it does kind of boil down to somewhere around 1,800 calories for women, 1,800, 1,900, 2,000, and 2,100 to 2,400 for men. This is a very generic range. It's going to vary dramatically person to person, of course, but those are pretty encompassing ranges, I would say, for daily energy needs. And I'm a fan of introducing fasting windows and eating at your energy demands on the other non-fasting days. So you have your fasting days, which are your low-calorie days, and then you have your eating days or your feasting days so that you get the benefits of both worlds. Brittany, we prescribe all of our peptides, guys, we prescribe. We do ship directly to your doorstep, and we do service all 50 states. So just shoot us a message. Brittany, we got you covered. Ideal carbs on GLP1. My doctor says one amount, and my dietitian says something else. Well, hopefully I don't tell you a third opinion, but I'm going to say it again. If you can lower your carbohydrate intake and increase your fat intake, without a doubt, you will drop your insulin levels faster. You will become more insulin sensitive faster. Now, whether or not that produces better results is something that science cannot tell us right now. Science says it doesn't, technically speaking. Technically, the research says it doesn't matter. But as a practical weight loss coach, I would tell you and encourage you to give it a shot, because in my strong opinion, you will do better on a low carbohydrate diet, unequivocally. But if that's a struggle for you, you prefer carbohydrates, and you've tested it out and you get good results while eating carbohydrates, then eat the damn carbohydrates. That's cool. Carbohydrates aren't poison. Carbohydrates aren't these evil toxic substances that unfortunately many people make them out to be. They're not toxic. Now, ultra processed carbohydrates are pretty garbage, I would say so. Ultra processed fats are pretty garbage too as well. So it's not a carbohydrate specific thing. But everybody's individual physiology and current health status and their mental status too, like, are they ready to take on and challenge a low carb diet? Those things matter in the moment when you try to come up with a game plan that makes sense. Where do I get bioidentical estrogen? Is this the same thing as HRT? Yes. HRT, hormone replacement therapy, BHRT, bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. I mean, BHRT is different than HRT. So you want to make sure that you are getting bioidentical estrogen. And again, we do service that. We do service all 50 states. How many carbohydrates is considered low carb for women and men? So this is a great question. There's different recommendations. To me, 50 grams or less of carbohydrates, 50 grams or less would be considered low / keto, especially if you start introducing some fasting windows alongside your low carb eating. So when you're eating low carb, and then obviously when you're fasting, you're not eating at all. The combination of both is where I notice the best results. Is bread considered ultra-processed carbohydrates? Yeah, in most cases, bread is not ideal. Wheat, in most cases, is not ideal. Again, this is is it toxic and poison and gonna end your life? No. Is a diet soda gonna end your life? No. In fact, I would still recommend a diet soda over a regular soda in the context of weight loss. Of course, if you can handle not having any soda or any diet soda, that would be the most favorable scenario. But to say and blanketly say that diet sodas are bad, when we're talking about diet soda consumption compared to regular soda consumption, diet soda is going to be a much better option. Thank you, Samantha. I appreciate that. Guys, if you just joined us, I'm going to be with you for the next, let me see my schedule here. How we doing? Actually, I'm pretty good on time. Looks like we're doing good right now. Oats ruin the lining of your stomach. I would say that be careful with that statement. Oatmeal, these carbohydrates could be a part of a healthy, balanced diet, in my opinion, when you become more insulin sensitive. So in the future, when you fix your insulin resistance, when you fix your metabolic health, you can use things like oatmeal, carbohydrates, rice, as a balanced diet, especially supportive of muscle building. So I would not say oats inherently damage your lining of your gut. That is false information. Do they have higher levels of phytic acid? Yes. Do phytic acid sometimes strip away essential nutrients absorption? Yes, it can. But what are we comparing the oats to? Oats can be part of a balanced diet, but not when you are insulin resistant. When you are insulin resistant, we need to cut down the consumption of things that spike your blood glucose. Oatmeal is going to spike your blood glucose very high. Yes, you're correct. You're correct. Diane, I was at 12 and a half, raised to 15. 15 makes me sick. Can I lower my dose back to 12 and a half? Of course, Diane, I can't give you medical advice. You need to talk to your prescriber. But we are a fan of lowest dosing strategies anyways. And so if you want to work with us, we can help you with the whole medication reset and get you down to a much lower dose, because that's very problematic, I have seen, for people that are on larger doses. Guys, welcome. If this is your first time here, my name is Dr. Jones. I have clinics that service across the nation, all 50 states. I work with a team of medical providers that also are passionate about metabolic health. We specialize in GLP1 microdosing protocols, powerful peptide and anti-aging protocols. My goal is overall optimal health, but like we gotta cut the fat. We gotta lose some fat. We gotta lose some belly fat and visceral fat first. How do we do massive doses? How do I maintain my weight loss so I'm not so dependent upon the GLP-1s? I like the idea of becoming less dependent upon the medications. That's a big deal. And so this is what we do. And so if you're new here, do me a favor, introduce yourself. Let me know, where you're watching from. Give us a follow on our TikTok and YouTube platforms. And if you guys are wanting to learn more, if you haven't gotten this year started the way that you were hoping, and you're still dragging your feet, this is exactly what we're here to do to help you. You can have a free call with my patient advocates who can spend time to get to know you your struggles and help give you an idea of what it's like to work with me or my team, you can reach out to us by either shooting us a DM directly on TikTok, shoot us a DM, or YouTube or TikTok, just go to our bio links and then click the link in the bio. Okay, so what symptoms tell you that you need to go up in dose? So that's a great question. And it depends on whether you already had good appetite suppression and you're starting to lose that, or if you've never had appetite suppression to begin with. So if you're just starting your journey, you start off on 2.5 milligrams. You don't start off on a microdose. You do not. That's another very common confusing topic, is that people think that you start off on a microdose, but a microdose is likely not going to do anything for you. If you have obesity, diabetes, autoimmune disease, inflammatory conditions, you're going to need regular clinical dosing. Microdosing is something that you earn in the future, not now. So you start your journey off on a starter dose, say 2.5 milligrams of tirzepatide, and then you give yourself a minimum of 1 month, a minimum 1 month. During that entire month, you are assessing your relationship with food. Before, or at the start, you had food chatter. We all know what food chatter is. Do you feel like you are in control of your food chatter now? If you are, you do not need to increase your dose. But if after a month you are white knuckling it, you are struggling, you're still not in control, that's where you talk to your provider about increasing your dose. I have no problem with patients increasing their dose. I'm just as much a fan of increasing doses when needed. Some people think that I'm like anti-dose increase. That couldn't be farther from the truth. I am pro proper dose increase. Got to give yourself a minimum of a month and then assess your relationship with food. And then after a month, if things are all hunky-dory and you're good, then great, stay. But if you're still struggling, if the food chatter hasn't improved to the ideal amount, you're white knuckling it, then you go up, and then you probably go up to 5 milligrams, for example. Karen, tirzepatide, 12.5, 5 months, only lost 12 pounds. I have Hashimoto's, knee issues, preventing exercise. I'm a big fan, if you have knee issues, to start doing the knees over toes protocol. The knees over toes protocol is phenomenal for getting your knees back to working condition. How long can you stay on Retta when you reach your goal? Well, retatrutide is still not an FDA approved peptide or medication. So I would always recommend the idea of tirzepatide as a maintenance microdosing option, because it's more tried and true and we know more about that medication. Tirzepatide versus semaglutide. Tirzepatide, hands down. Tirzepatide is going to be the better option without a doubt. And that's proven in the data, and that's also proven through my clinical observation working with so many people. Yes, Renee, if you are struggling with menopause, how many perimenopause and menopausal women do we have currently watching the live? Let me know in the comments, are you approaching perimenopause, menopause, and has that changed everything for you? Let me know in the comments. We can finish off talking about that today. Yeah, I just turned that off. That was a fan that I turned on. Yeah, I turned that off. Okay, good. So we do see thoughts on MOTS-C and SS31, Joey. These are really potent mitochondrial peptides. SS31 is a little bit more background mitochondrial healing structurally, and then MOTS-C is more of an exercise mimetic, activating that AMPK pathway. I saw some videos, says 3 million people from using peptides. I don't know what video you're talking about, but I think that's a bunch of bull. You know what? I haven't seen the video, but I'm going to call shenanigans right now. Yes, menopause. Okay, so real quick, what happens in perimenopause, menopause? You have a marked decrease in production of vital sex hormones for women, mainly estrogen and progesterone. Now, estrogen plays such a vital role in fat tissue distribution around the body. So as a woman, when you have higher levels of estrogen, the fat around your body is distributed more into subcutaneous areas and non-visceral. So what do I mean? What is visceral? Visceral fat is belly fat. It's fat around your organs. And what we now understand about visceral fat is significantly and mainly, it's the main issue with fat. The more fat you have on your body, yes, that's correlated with worse health, but it's pretty much almost primarily visceral fat. You could be a healthy person with a lot of body fat if you have mostly subcutaneous fat and very little visceral fat. So visceral fat, again, that's fat around your vital organs in your body. This is the primary type of fat that's strongly correlated with all-cause mortality. And so estrogen, when you have estrogen as a woman, prior to perimenopause and menopause, you have a better ratio of visceral to subcutaneous. And it's that decrease in estrogen levels which causes a redistribution of fat into that ratio of visceral to subcutaneous changes. And with an increase in visceral fat, guess what happens, ladies? Inflammation increases, insulin resistance develops faster, and now weight just hits it's like a brick wall. And that's obviously a struggle and an issue. So I can't stress this enough. Adding estrogen bioidentical is crucial to your journey if you're struggling with weight loss. Even if you're not struggling with weight, it's just quality of life. Hormone therapy is a big piece of quality of life if you're struggling. So, all right, guys, I gotta run, but I think I'm gonna be back to some amount of live schedule here a couple times a week. We will do our best to post an early event on YouTube so you guys can catch me. Look out on YouTube, you'll see the events, also TikTok. We'll do our best to schedule events so you guys can catch me. And if you haven't already, if you haven't figured out how to reach out to us, shoot us a direct message on the TikTok platform, or you can go to the bio link on either platform. Go to the bio link, click the bio link, fill out the form. Let's talk. I want to help you guys be successful. The year just started. I know a lot of you guys had big plans and maybe, life happened. Well, there's always an opportunity to get up off that horse, get back onto that horse, and let's do it. Let's do it. And the expression, let's not cry over spilled milk. Well, let's not cry over days wasted, because you got plenty of time in front of you to be successful, and I want to do everything I possibly can to help you guys be successful. So you guys take care, have a great day, and I'll see everybody later.